Hi, my name is Sydney. I was searching in all the wrong places. I am now home, and I hope to be a beacon for others. I literally think it starts from when I was born. So I was adopted at 30 hours old. And so there was a whole other family and whole other story to me that I didn't know for the longest time. And so I grew up with my adoptive parents. It was just me and them, and that's all I ever knew. They told me from a very young age that I was adopted. But that comes with a lot of questions once you get to a certain age. You start doing projects in school about family trees and genetics and things like this, and you go to the doctor and they ask for medical history, and I don't know any of these things. And there comes to a point in your life, this pivotal point when you're trying to figure out who you are. And I felt like there was such a large part of me missing because I had this whole backstory that was never really a part of my earthly life, because I was literally born and then went straight to my adoptive parents. But there was this whole other backstory to my life that I didn't know. So I really think it starts there. And my birth family did end up finding me when I was in college. And I'm not really sure what I expected or what I hoped for. And I don't want to say I was disappointed with the connection necessarily, but if anything, I had a greater appreciation for, first of all, my adoptive parents adopting me, and second of all, my birth mom being selfless enough to recognize that she could not take care of me and give me the kind of life that she wanted to give me, and therefore gave me the opportunity to have the life that I have now. I think being adopted and ending up with the parents that I ended up with gave me way more solid of a foundation than I would have had. I think though it didn't look like me living out a perfect life, I think it kept me safe from many paths that I could have gone down permanently. My birth family had a lot of history of jail time and drug use, alcohol abuse, teenage pregnancy. And so knowing that I could have grown up in that environment and having had conversations with my birth family now and siblings, and knowing the things that they went through growing up and struggled with, I think being adopted gave me an opportunity that I never would have had otherwise. And also when it comes to my faith life, there was a seed planted from a very young age that I don't think would have been planted if I had not been adopted. My parents raised me in the Catholic Church, and so I had some sort of spiritual foundation from a young age. I was baptized as a baby. I did all my sacraments, confirmed, the whole thing. Now, as for whether I really ever had an understanding of what that faith looked like, I don't think I did. Any reverence to God that I had during those 18 years of being raised and involved with the Catholic Church was from a place of fear, and not the good kind of fear that we want, the bad kind of fear, oh my gosh, I have to do this or I'm going to hell. It was every ounce of obedience was, I don't want to go to hell. Never I love God or anything like that. I didn't have any kind of concept of the gospel or grace or what Jesus dying on the cross meant for me. But all that to say, I am very grateful that I grew up with some sort of foundation. And I do believe there was a seed planted from my time in the Catholic Church. It introduced me to the concept of God and religion in general, and the Christian faith in general. But I feel like growing up, there was definitely this idea that God had a plan, and you were part of God's plan for us. It was very strict. It felt very restrictive and very disciplined in a way that isn't necessarily a healthy way of discipline, if you know what I mean. I just remember feeling afraid of so many things from such a young age. And you know, I did faith formation classes, like summer camps, all of it. I did all of it. And I just always remember being so afraid of God all the time. And every time I made some sort of mistake, thinking that it like ticked me down. And every time I made a mistake, I was like a tick closer to hell and farther away from heaven. And Catholics believe in this concept of purgatory, where you're neither in heaven nor hell, and is sometimes described to be worse than hell because you're in this in-between. And you know, I always felt like a good person, like I wanted to do the right things, but I made so many mistakes, and so I always had this fear of just ending up in this in-between space where I didn't belong anywhere. I was just in the middle, and I wasn't with God, I wasn't with the devil, I was just alone in this in-between abyss with no real like place. Your freedom isn't found there. It's not found in what you do for the church, for God. It's not found there. It's found in what Jesus did on the cross. And I've had to have this conversation with my parents various times over the years, and really try to make sure that they understand the gospel too. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I would tell them is freedom isn't found in that kind of living out of your faith. It's solely found in Jesus. So it was in spring of 2020, the very beginning of like the heart of COVID, where everybody was terrified. Nobody knew what was gonna happen. Everything was just up in the air, completely unknown, which is my biggest fear. I hate not knowing. I hate major change, and that was all going on at once. And I had always struggled with mental health, you know, from the time I was in high school and beyond. And that was a very scary time for me. I couldn't be around my family because my mom had medical issues, and we weren't sure what was going on. She had cancer, and so we were just trying to all be extra cautious because we didn't know what COVID was, how it could affect somebody. So I was completely alone in my apartment, couldn't visit my family. My boyfriend at the time, he had parents who were more susceptible to things, so I couldn't be around them. It was just me, myself, and I, and life was hard. I had just gotten a brand new job, immediately got laid off and unemployment because everything shut down. And it was a really scary, tough time. And I was sitting in my apartment, and I just didn't think I could do it anymore. I was so done. I didn't see any way out. Everything seemed just hopeless. And so I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, what can I do to just end this right now? And you know, I didn't have anything that would make it easy for me to do this, but selfishly, I didn't want to be unsuccessful because I didn't want to live with the consequences of being unsuccessful. And so I was sitting there and my brain is just going a million miles a minute, thinking of all the ways I could just take myself away from this earth and this fear and this unknown. And out of nowhere, this one thought just like broke through all of the other thoughts. And it was, well, Sydney, if you are successful, where are you going? Are you going to heaven? And I sat there and it just completely threw me. And I sat there and I was like, well, I don't actually know. Because again, I had lived, my whole faith and spiritual life had been just fear up until this point. And so I didn't know where I would go. I would hope that I would go to heaven, but then all of those beliefs that I had from my childhood just started creeping in, and I thought about all the things I had done, and I was like, I don't know. And I said, but I'm gonna find out. And I swear to you, the world stopped turning. Everything was still. Everything stopped moving. My brain stopped going, and there was just this peace and this weight that lifted. And I texted my boyfriend at the time, who was a believer, and I said, listen, these are the questions I have. And he was like, great, I'm gonna point you in the right direction. And the next day, I did a 360. I got connected in a church. I joined a small group. I joined a recovery program. I got a Bible. I purchased studies. I was all in because I wanted to know the answer to that question. And in searching for the answer to that question, I heard the gospel and realized the weight of the gospel for the first time, and it completely changed my life.